The jewelry store clerk handed me the receipt with that practiced smile they reserve for returns. $3,000 back on my credit card for a necklace my wife would never wear. Not because she didn't like jewelry. Melanie loved anything that sparkled. But because she'd made it crystal clear what she thought of our 10th anniversary. Ugh, stuck with boring boyfriend tonight. Her Instagram story had read just 2 hours earlier. Posted while I was literally standing in line to buy her the diamond necklace she'd been hinting about for months. Boring boyfriend. 10 years of marriage, and I'd been demoted to boyfriend status. That stung more than it should have. My name is Simon Reese, and I fix computers for a living. Not the most glamorous profession, I'll admit, but it pays well enough to afford $3,000 necklaces for wives who call you boring on social media. I work for Caldwell Tech Solutions downtown, troubleshooting network issues and explaining to executives why their computers won't work when they forget to plug them in. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days solving other people's problems, but I'd been ignoring my own for months. Instead of heading home to face Melanie's fake enthusiasm about whatever cheap flowers I'd supposedly picked up instead, I made a different choice. I walked 3 blocks to the Grandview Resort, the luxury hotel she'd been begging me to book for our anniversary, the same place she claimed we couldn't afford. "I'd like your best suite for tonight," I told the desk clerk, sliding my credit card across the marble counter. "The penthouse suite is available, sir. That's $1,200 for the night." Perfect. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a king-size bed, room service champagne in hand, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed constantly. Text after text from Melanie. "Where are you?" "Simon, this isn't funny. I made dinner reservations." I turned the phone face down and took another sip of champagne. Here's to being the world's most boring boyfriend, alone in a $1,200 suite. The champagne was excellent. The silence was even better. Around midnight, my phone started ringing. I'd ignored 17 calls from Melanie, but this was Jenny Tran, my friend from college, who now worked as a tech journalist for the city paper. Jenny was one of the few people who knew exactly what my marriage had become. "Please tell me you're not sitting at home listening to Melanie complain about the restaurant you picked," she said without preamble. "Nope, I'm drinking champagne in the penthouse suite at the Grandview." "Good for you. Wait, where's Melanie?" "Home, I assume. Probably posting about what a disappointment her anniversary was." Jenny laughed, but it had an edge to it. "Simon, you might want to check your work email." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Just check it. I'll wait." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I opened my laptop and logged into my company email. The subject line made my chest tighten. "Concerning reports, please see me first thing Monday." The email was from my boss, Mr. Caldwell, short and ominous. "What did she do?" I asked Jenny. "I don't know for sure, but I heard through the grapevine that someone's been spreading rumors about you at your office, something about anger issues and possible substance problems." The champagne suddenly tasted bitter. She wouldn't. "Simon, she posted about you being boring on Instagram while you were buying her jewelry. What wouldn't she do?" I stared at the email, reading it over and over. Melanie had escalated beyond social media embarrassment. She was coming for my job now. "I have to go," I told Jenny. "Don't do anything stupid." "Don't worry, I'm not the stupid one in this marriage." But as I hung up, staring at that email, I realized something had shifted inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was transforming into something else, something colder and more calculating. Melanie wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd forgotten something important about her boring husband. I spent 40 hours a week solving problems, and I was very good at it. Monday morning hit like a slap. I'd spent Sunday in the hotel suite thinking and planning. By the time I checked out, I had a strategy. Caldwell's office smelled like stale coffee and disappointment. He was a decent boss, mid-50s, gray at the temples, the kind of guy who still wore ties every day. He looked uncomfortable as I sat down. "Simon, I need to ask you about some concerning reports I've received." "What kind of reports?" He shuffled papers on his desk. "Someone contacted HR over the weekend. Anonymous tip about potential workplace issues. Anger management problems, possible substance use." I kept my voice level. "Who made these reports?" "Anonymous, like I said. But they seem to know personal details about you. Your home situation, your wife's name." He paused. "Look, I don't believe any of this, but I have to follow protocol. Are you having problems at home?" The question hung in the air. I could have told him the truth, that my wife was sabotaging my career because I'd finally stood up to her. Instead, I smiled. "My marriage is fine, Mr. Caldwell, but I appreciate your concern." "Okay. Well, just know that my door is open if you need to talk." I spent the rest of Monday documenting everything. Screenshots of Melanie's social media posts, timestamps, a detailed timeline of events. Then I started digging deeper. Melanie worked at Sterling PR, a mid-sized firm downtown that handled social media campaigns for local businesses. She was good at her job. Manipulating public opinion was her specialty. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd gotten sloppy with her digital security. We shared a family computer at home, and Melanie had never bothered to log out of her accounts. Her Instagram DMs were a goldmine of information. Months of conversations with her work friend Rico Danner, Rico to his friends, a wannabe influencer who drove a BMW he couldn't afford and posted workout videos to his 3,000 followers. The messages made my stomach turn, but I read everyone. "Simon's so boring in bed, I might as well be alone anyway. He has no idea what a real man looks like. I'm thinking of leaving him, but the money situation is complicated." And then, from just last week, "I have a plan to make him look unstable at work. If he gets fired, I can claim financial abuse in the separation." Financial abuse. She was planning to destroy my career and then use it against me in court. I screenshotted everything. Tuesday evening, I was grabbing dinner at Murphy's bar when Rico himself walked in. I recognized him from his Instagram photos, 6 feet tall, artificially white teeth, the kind of guy who wore expensive cologne to cover up his insecurity. He spotted me immediately. Apparently, Melanie had shown him photos. "You must be Simon," he said, sliding into the booth across from me uninvited. "Rico Danner, I work with your wife." "I know who you are." His smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Mel's told me a lot about you. Says you've been having some problems lately." "Has she?" "Look, man, I'm going to be straight with you. Melanie deserves better than what she's getting at home. Maybe it's time to step aside and let her be happy." I took a sip of my beer, studying his face. "And you think you're what would make her happy?" "I know I am." "Interesting theory." I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot of his DM to Melanie from that morning. "Can't wait to get you alone again. Your husband has no idea what he's missing." Rico's face went pale. "Where did you get that? Does it matter?" I stood up, leaving money on the table. "Here's some free advice, Rico. Stay away from my wife and stay away from me." I was halfway to my car when I heard footsteps behind me. Rico had followed me into the parking lot, and he wasn't trying to be friendly anymore. "You think you're smart?" he said, pulling out his keys. "Let's see how smart you feel about this." He walked straight to my Honda and dragged his key along the driver's side door, leaving a long, deep scratch in the paint. "Oops," he said, grinning. But I was already recording with my phone, capturing every second of his vandalism. The video was perfect, clear shot of his face, his license plate, and the damage he was causing. "Thanks for the evidence," I said. His grin disappeared. "Delete that." "No, I don't think I will." I got in my car, rolled down the window. "By the way, Rico, your Instagram followers are going to love this video." I drove away, leaving him standing in the parking lot. Phase 2 of my plan was already in motion. Wednesday morning, I uploaded the video of Rico keying my car to an anonymous account and tagged every one of his sponsors. The caption was simple: local influencer Rico Danner vandalizing property. Is this the kind of person you want representing your brand? By noon, 3 companies had dropped him. By evening, the video had been shared over 500 times. Rico's panicked DMs to Melanie were almost entertaining. "Your husband is ruining my career. You said he was harmless." Melanie's response was even better. "He's never done anything like this before. I don't know what's gotten into him." What had gotten into me was clarity. For months, I'd been playing defense while Melanie and Rico plotted against me. Time to go on offense. Thursday, I made my next move. Melanie's boss at Sterling PR was a woman named Patricia Voss, early 40s, professional, the kind of person who valued discretion and company reputation above all else. I'd met her at several company parties over the years. I sent her an anonymous email with screenshots of Melanie's conversations with Rico. Not the personal stuff about our marriage, that was humiliating but not illegal. Instead, I focused on the messages where Melanie had used company resources to research my workplace, where she'd discussed using her PR skills to destroy Simon's reputation, and where she'd bragged about manipulating the anonymous tip to my boss. The subject line was simple: employee using company resources for personal vendettas. By Friday afternoon, Melanie was on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. She called me screaming. "What did you do?" "I went to work, came home, made dinner. Boring husband stuff." "Don't play dumb with me, Simon. Someone sent Patricia screenshots of private conversations." "That's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" "This is war now," she said before hanging up. War. Finally, we were being honest about what this had become. Saturday night, Rico was throwing a party at his downtown condo. He'd posted about it on Instagram, probably trying to prove that his career wasn't in shambles. Jenny had managed to get us invited through her connections in the local media scene. "Are you sure about this?" she asked as we rode the elevator to the 20th floor. "This seems like a bad idea." "Trust me." Rico's condo was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, and about 30 people trying too hard to look important. Rico himself was holding court by the bar, telling anyone who would listen that the vandalism video was fake news and a setup. I waited until he went to the bathroom, then slipped out to the parking garage. His BMW was parked in spot 47, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. I'd come prepared. A bag of biodegradable glitter went into his air vents. A can of sardines, strategically placed in the engine compartment where the smell would be subtle at first, but overwhelming once the engine heated up. And finally, a custom vinyl decal that read, "Cheater," in bright red letters, applied to his rear windshield. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes. I was back at the party, drink in hand, when Rico returned from the bathroom. He was heading straight for me, face flushed with anger. "You've got some nerve showing up here," he said loud enough for half the party to hear. "It's a nice place," I replied. "Great view. You think you're funny? Posting that video, getting me dropped by sponsors?" The party had gone quiet. Several people were holding up phones, recording what looked like it might become a confrontation. "I think you're confusing me with someone who cares about your problems," I said. That's when he shoved me. It wasn't hard, more of a chest bump than actual violence, but it was enough. I stumbled backward, playing up the impact for the cameras. "Whoa, Rico," I said, hands up in a peaceful gesture. "I'm not looking for trouble." "Maybe trouble's looking for you," he replied, stepping closer. "Maybe you should check your car before you threaten anyone else tonight." The color drained from his face. He pushed through the crowd toward the elevator, and I followed at a distance. So did about half the party, including several people still recording. The parking garage scene was perfect. Rico's BMW looked like a disco ball had exploded inside it, glitter everywhere, coating the seats and dashboard. The smell of fish was just starting to become noticeable, and the cheater decal was positioned perfectly for maximum visibility. "What did you do?" he screamed. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. But if I had to guess, I'd say someone who knows about your extracurricular activities decided to send a message. He lunged at me then, but I was ready. I stepped aside, and he stumbled into the concrete pillar behind me. Not hard enough to hurt him seriously, but enough to make him look foolish in front of all those cameras. Rico, buddy, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe you should focus on cleaning up your own mess instead of blaming other people for your problems. The crowd was laughing now. Someone shouted, "This is going straight to TikTok!" Rico looked around at the faces surrounding him, all of them recording his humiliation, and I saw something break inside him. "This isn't over," he said, but his voice had lost its edge. "Yeah, it is," I replied. "You just don't know it yet." Sunday morning brought a new development. Melanie had spent Saturday night crafting her counterattack, and it was more sophisticated than I'd expected. Her TikTok video had already gained 10,000 views. She sat in our living room, looking perfectly composed and vulnerable at the same time. The lighting was professional, her makeup flawless. "I need to share something difficult," she began, her voice trembling just enough to seem authentic. "My husband has been emotionally abusive for years, controlling, manipulative, and recently his behavior has escalated." She went on to describe a version of our marriage that bore no resemblance to reality. According to Melanie, I was a jealous, possessive husband who monitored her every move, isolated her from friends, and had recently begun stalking her co-workers. "I'm scared," she concluded, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "But I can't stay silent anymore." The comments were brutal. Hundreds of strangers calling me a monster, demanding that I be fired, arrested, run out of town. Melanie had weaponized social media against me, and she was winning. But she'd made one critical mistake. In her rush to paint herself as the victim, she'd included specific details about recent events, details that I could disprove with evidence. I called Jenny. "I need your help with something. Please tell me you're not planning to make a response video. That never ends well. Better than that, I need you to help me set up a meeting." Monday evening, Melanie was having dinner at Rossetti's with her friends Ava and Krista. They'd been her enablers for years, cheering on her worst behavior and feeding her ego. I knew they'd be there because Melanie had posted about it on Instagram. "Girls' night, need my support system right now." I arrived at 7:30, just as they were finishing their appetizers. Melanie saw me first, her face going pale. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "I wanted to clear up some confusion," I said, pulling out a chair and sitting down uninvited. "About your TikTok video." "You need to leave," Ava said. "Right now." "Actually, I think you'll want to hear this." I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Melanie's voice filled the space between us. "Simon's so boring in bed, I might as well be alone anyway. He has no idea what a real man looks like. I'm thinking of leaving him, but the money situation is complicated." The recording continued, playing months of her conversations with Rico. Her friends' faces went from supportive to shocked to disgusted as they heard Melanie's real thoughts about her marriage, her plans to destroy my career, and her detailed descriptions of her affair. "Turn it off," Melanie whispered. But I let it play until the end, until they heard her laughing about how stupid and gullible I was, how easy it would be to manipulate the situation to her advantage. When the recording finished, the silence at the table was deafening. Ava was the first to speak. "Mel, what the hell is this?" "It's taken out of context," Melanie said quickly. "He's manipulating—" "Context?" Krista interrupted. "What context makes it okay to call your husband stupid while you're sleeping with someone else?" "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Ava said, standing up. She looked at me with something that might have been respect. "I'm sorry, Simon. I had no idea." They left together, abandoning Melanie at the table. I watched her composure crumble as her support system walked away. "You've destroyed everything," she said. "No, Melanie. You did that all by yourself. I just made sure people knew the truth. Tuesday brought more fallout. Patricia Voss called Melanie in for a meeting and terminated her employment. The combination of using company resources for personal vendettas and the public relations nightmare of her TikTok video made her position untenable. Rico was dealing with his own problems. The glitter bomb had required professional detailing to clean up, costing him $800. The sardines had been worse. The smell had permeated the car's interior, making it nearly undrivable. He'd had to take it to 3 different shops before finding one willing to tackle the odor removal. But the real damage was to his reputation. Videos of his parking garage meltdown had gone viral, showing him screaming and stumbling while covered in glitter. His remaining sponsors had dropped him, and his follower count was in free fall. He tried one last, desperate move. Wednesday night, I came home to find him attempting to break into my apartment building. He was trying to jimmy the lock on the main entrance when I walked up behind him. Looking for something, Rico? He spun around, eyes wild. You ruined my life. You ruined your own life. I just documented it. I'm going to destroy you, he said, but there was no conviction in his voice anymore. He looked desperate, defeated. With what? Your 3 remaining Instagram followers? He rushed at me then, but desperation made him clumsy. I sidestepped easily, and he crashed into the glass door behind me. Not hard enough to break anything, but loud enough to attract attention. Help! I called out. Someone's trying to break into the building. Lights came on in several apartments. Mrs. Chen from 2B opened her window and shouted down, I'm calling the police! Rico's face went white. Wait. No. You have about 3 minutes before they get here, I told him calmly. I suggest you use them to leave and never come back. He ran. I watched him stumble down the street, glitter still sparkling in his hair from the car incident days earlier. Thursday morning, I made my final financial move. Our joint accounts had been slowly drained over the past week. Not stolen, just transferred to accounts in my name only. Perfectly legal, since both names were on the original accounts. Melanie discovered this when her card was declined at the grocery store. Her panicked call came 20 minutes later. What did you do to our accounts? I secured my assets, I said. You know, in case someone tries to claim financial abuse in a separation. The silence stretched between us. How did you know about that? She finally asked. I know about everything, Melanie. Every plan, every lie, every scheme. Did you really think you could outsmart me? We can work this out. No, we can't. It's too late for that. But I was wrong. It wasn't too late. Melanie had one more card to play, and she was about to show me just how far she was willing to go. Friday morning brought an unexpected call from Jenny. Simon, we need to talk, in person. Her voice had an urgency that made my stomach clench. We met at the coffee shop near her office, and she slid a folder across the table to me. I've been doing some digging into Melanie and Rico's situation, she said. You're not going to like what I found. The folder contained printouts of emails, social media posts, and financial records. As I read through them, a picture emerged that was worse than I'd imagined. They were planning this for months, Jenny explained. The affair was just the beginning. They had a whole scheme worked out. According to the documents, Melanie and Rico had been planning what they called an influencer divorce campaign. The idea was to destroy my reputation, force me out of my job, and then use my unemployment and her fabricated abuse claims to generate sympathy on social media. Look at this, Jenny said, pointing to a series of emails between Melanie and Rico from 3 months ago. They were already planning the TikTok video, the anonymous tip to your boss, everything. The plan was sophisticated and cruel. Melanie would document fake evidence of abuse, while Rico built up his social media presence. Once they destroyed my career and reputation, Melanie would launch a public divorce campaign, complete with a GoFundMe account, and brand partnerships with companies that supported abuse survivors. They estimated they could make 6 figures in the first year, Jenny said. Book deals, speaking engagements, sponsored content. Your marriage wasn't just failing, it was being monetized. I stared at the papers, feeling something cold settle in my chest. How did you get all this? Rico's been sloppy since his career imploded. He left his laptop unattended at a coffee shop yesterday. Someone I know happened to be there and happened to see some interesting emails on his screen. The betrayal was complete. Not only had my wife been cheating on me, she'd been planning to profit from destroying my life. There's more, Jenny said. They're not done yet. Look at the last email. It was from yesterday. Plan A failed, but we can still salvage this. Meet me at the Grandview tomorrow night. We'll film the confrontation and post it as evidence of his stalking behavior. They were planning to ambush me at the same hotel where I'd spent our anniversary alone. The irony was almost poetic. What are you going to do? Jenny asked. I smiled, and she took a step back. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Saturday evening, I arrived at the Grandview Resort an hour early. I'd reserved the same penthouse suite where this whole thing had started, and I'd made some additional preparations. Jenny had helped me set up a live stream on multiple platforms. We'd created accounts on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, all with the same username, Truth About Melanie. The stream was titled, Confronting My Wife's Lies, Live and Unedited. At 8 p.m., Melanie and Rico arrived together. They'd brought backup. Krista was with them, apparently having been won back to Melanie's side, along with 2 guys I didn't recognize. They looked like they were ready for a fight. I was sitting in the hotel lobby, laptop open, live stream running. Already, we had over 200 viewers. Hello, everyone, I said to the camera. My name is Simon Reese, and my wife has been lying about me on social media. Tonight, she's planning to confront me here at this hotel and record it as evidence that I'm stalking her. But here's what she doesn't know. I have evidence of my own. Melanie spotted me and marched over, Rico and her entourage following. She was holding her phone, already recording. There he is, she announced loudly, making sure everyone in the lobby could hear. My abusive husband stalking me at a hotel. Actually, I said, not looking up from my laptop, I'm a guest here. I have a room upstairs. You, on the other hand, were trespassed from this property last week after causing a scene in the restaurant. That wasn't true, but Melanie's face went pale. She wasn't sure what I knew anymore. You're live streaming this, Rico noticed, pointing at my laptop. I am. We have over 500 viewers now. Everyone say hello to Rico Danner, the influencer who vandalized my car, and my wife Melanie, who's been planning to monetize our divorce. That's not true, Melanie shouted. Really? I pulled out my phone and began reading from her emails. Quote, the influencer divorce market is huge right now. If we play this right, we could make more money from ending your marriage than you ever made staying in it. The lobby had gone quiet. Other hotel guests were stopping to watch the confrontation, and several were recording with their phones. Stop reading that! Melanie lunged for my phone, but I'd anticipated this. And here's my personal favorite, I continued, dodging her grab. Quote, Simon's so stupid he'll never see this coming. By the time we're done with him, he'll be unemployed, broke, and no one will believe a word he says. Rico tried a different approach. Those emails are fake. He's manipulating all of you. Are they fake, Rico? I asked, pulling up his Instagram account on my laptop screen. Because here's a screenshot of your post from last month. Big things coming soon. Sometimes you have to destroy something old to build something new. The live stream chat was exploding. Viewers were sharing the stream, and our audience had grown to over 2,000 people. You want to know the truth about my marriage? I asked the camera. Here it is. I played the recording of Melanie admitting to her affair, her plans to destroy my career, and her scheme to profit from our divorce. The audio was crystal clear, her voice unmistakable. Melanie went silent. The fight drained out of her as she realized how thoroughly she'd been outmaneuvered. The boring husband wins in the end, I said to the camera. Funny how that works. Rico made one last desperate play. He's been stalking us for weeks, vandalizing my property, harassing us at work. You mean like this? I played the video of Rico keying my car. Or this. I showed screenshots of his threatening messages. Or maybe you're talking about the time you tried to break into my apartment building. The hotel security had arrived, drawn by the commotion. They recognized the situation immediately. A group of people harassing a hotel guest who was minding his own business in the lobby. Sir, the security chief said to Rico, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This isn't over, Melanie said, as security escorted them toward the exit. Yeah, it is, I replied. You just don't want to admit it. As they were led away, I addressed the camera one final time. That's the truth about my marriage, everyone. Sometimes the boring guy really does win. The live stream ended with over 3,000 viewers and hundreds of supportive comments. Within an hour, clips from the confrontation were being shared across every social media platform. Melanie's original TikTok video was flooded with comments from people who'd seen the live stream. Her narrative had collapsed completely. But the real victory came Monday morning, when Mr. Caldwell called me into his office. Simon, I owe you an apology, he said. After this weekend's revelations, it's clear that the anonymous reports we received were part of a targeted harassment campaign against you. I appreciate that, sir. I also want to offer you a promotion. We're opening a new cybersecurity division, and I think you'd be perfect to head it up. As I walked out of his office, I realized something had fundamentally changed. I wasn't the same man who'd returned that necklace 2 weeks ago. I'd learned something important about myself. When pushed to the edge, I didn't break. I adapted, I overcame, and I won. The boring husband had gotten the last laugh after all.